and thank you again for the opportunity to redo my presentation. The technical difficulties were my fault, so I apologize for everyone that signed up. So I'm going to walk everybody through our, there we go. I just want to make sure, can you guys see my screen? Holly, are we good to go?
Good to go.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to walk everybody through this project and the process that we use using both the DProfiler and DESTINI Estimator to help move this project to further stages of funding. This project is ongoing as it is right now, and there's still some iterations to be done. So this is what I would call a live project and not just an example. Basically, this was one of your standard conceptual type projects. H.J. Russell was contacted to provide some conceptual estimating to help a developer out. This was an initial go, no-go situation where our construction budget will be reviewed and compared with the developer's budget to see if the numbers work. The next step after that would be to submit for state approval of funding, and then once that funding was approved, it would be combined with some local funding via some tax credits and then some private equity to fully fund the project. So the developer wanted an outcome of a newly renovated multifamily complex in an undeserved area with the intent of sparking further development in that area. This is what you see here is typical of the information that we're given on a conceptual basis. They needed an estimate turned around within a day, and all the documentation that we had was a rendering and a site plan. So that's what we had to go with. So in my mind, this was a perfect DProfiler project, and I started with DProfiler. Due to the time constraints, like I said, it was a one-day turnaround, and that one day was the day before Thanksgiving. So it was actually, I would say, a half a day turnaround, just because of the holidays. But it was perfect to use DProfiler to start a cost model with. I'm familiar with DProfiler and how it's easy to set up on a project like this. You set up some rooms, and you can combine those rooms into apartment units, and then those units can ultimately be combined into buildings, and we can factor those to achieve a lot of detail for the project in a relatively short amount of time. I wanted to model the property and the buildings to do a couple of things. One was validate the sizes of the buildings and the units against the program document that we had. And then it was also not only to do a quick cost model, but have an image deliverable to present to the client. I know sometimes we only use images from DProfiler, but I found through experience, if you take the time to actually do the estimate, then obviously the transition to Estimator is a lot easier and it's simple. And you also have greater value in the long run. You don't have to touch that first estimate again to reformat it or to do anything else as you move it through that project life cycle. And also, I guess finally, this was our first impression deliverable to the client we were working with. So I just wanted to do something different, pull out all of the bells and whistles and be a differentiator. I mean, we can do Revit renderings, but I think a DProfiler model has true value where you can actually have something behind that data. So our basic DProfiler deliverable is, once we completed our estimate in DProfiler, we reviewed it via a budget comparison with the developer's budget. So typically at that time, there are some changes because of scope communication, some assumptions we make that the developer obviously wants to change. and then some things maybe we didn't pick up that they had in their mind that we needed to. So my standard process for what you see on the screen, this was an Excel formatted template of a DProfiler estimate. So my process was to make changes in this file, but the only issue I have with that is that the link between my model and my budget gets broken. So it works, but it's not a real good practice or best practice for continuity. Currently, I use DProfiler and this Excel export, and we also use MC² as our platform for more, I guess, bid type estimating. And it's nice, but I really prefer the learning curve of DESTINI Estimator from the very start to actually being productive with the software. When I know, in my experience, when using a new method or software, you'll usually end up spending twice the amount of time that you would to produce the same results. But when using DESTINI Estimator, I really didn't experience that same type of double time or time frame with Estimator. I think part of that issue was that it had the look and feel of working in Excel. So it had that look and feel. I was able to move items, copy items, remove items on the fly relatively quickly. So I did like that aspect. So this is an estimator view of the project once it was completed in DProfiler and pushed into DESTINI Estimator. And what I like about this, one of the features that I really like about Estimator is the quick sorting ability that it has. This is very helpful once you complete your DProfiler model. At any time when you do a conceptual estimate, you know that a client typically will always want the budget broken out differently than the way you build it. And it's just that as estimators, we build it a certain way from a logical standpoint, and the client may need it broken out separately for a number of reasons. It could be for funding purposes, it could be for preference, it could be for any number of things. So it can get tedious when you have things calculated, say in DProfiler, based off of sizes or buildings or something like that with applied factors, and you have to go back and either re-engineer or just basically delete and kind of start over to change the formatting. With Estimator, however, you get the ability and the flexibility to resort your items. I mean, this is comparable to some of your major estimating platforms. Timberline, I've worked in Timberline, work in MC² currently, Success Estimator, those types of platforms that allow you to sort the line items by any number of different classifications. Estimator will let you do that. You can also add custom WBS properties that allow you to further segregate your estimate, giving you a large amount of flexibility. In my mind, this is huge. This is the type of flexibility that I want to have when I'm doing an estimate. Obviously, we're in a pinch. A lot of times we'll revert back to Excel, but Excel doesn't give you that type of flexibility. I mean, you can cut and paste, and you can copy, and you can do some formatting pretty quickly, but there's always that chance that those cells didn't add up correctly. So that's one of my things that I caution about when using Excel. So at this time, I do want to just hop into Estimator and do a quick little demo of it, just to show how easy that is. So I'm going to open up my Estimator model. So this is the actual project that I was referring to from I started in DProfiler and then imported it or exported it into Estimator. That process is pretty simple as well. It's just a matter of going into DProfiler, doing a file export, and export DProfiler estimate, and then that file you can open in DESTINI Estimator. So it's really pretty easy. So I'm in my home view here, and I have a kind of a filter box, and I have my estimate box here. So my estimate was done in a uniformat type classification. So just an instance, if we wanted to resort these items, I could go to my filter tree to configure them, and then if I pick CSI, for instance, level 2, it's going to reformat those items to CSI level 2. Now, nothing real special about that particular thing, but what I do like is now I can go into the particular division, and it will give me a total of the items in that division. So that's extremely helpful. It's always the case. I've never been in an estimate review where you're looking at an entire estimate. You may be talking $20 million, and maybe $50 million, and maybe $2 million. And it never fails. Someone will ask the question, or what do you have for a cost of one particular item? So it's helpful to be able to dive directly into that category and be able to look at that total from a total standpoint, and also like a cost per area within that. So that's one of the it's a real helpful benefit in DESTINI Estimator. I can resort this again. So if I wanted to go back to uniformat or just a WBS property, for instance, I could. And then I can always reset it and go back. It goes back to my standard estimate format. So this, for instance, was in uniformat here. So it just gave me that specific sorting ability that I like. It's also nice to be able to add line items relatively quickly. So if I were to do that, to add a line item, it may take just a second because of my cost database to add a line item. If I go here and just click on an item, for instance. So I've added that line item. I believe it put it, lost it, so I'm going to go back to CSI because I know that's where it is. There it is. So I knew it was a Division 7 item. So there's a line item I just added, and then now I have the ability, similar to DProfiler, to make quantity changes. I could add a unit cost. Okay, that was $20. And now it gives me that total there for that particular category in CSI. So it's also changed my total estimate. You know, similar to DProfiler, when you make a change on the fly, it reverberates out to the ultimate sum. So it gives you, again, it gives you that flexibility, which I really like. And it's really very helpful. So on our post-deliverable submission, just kind of a, not necessarily a recap, but the training to do those type of things that I just demoed was really simple, and to get up and going. Like I said, that learning curve was relatively short. I would say I had a training session at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I was doing things in the estimate at around that afternoon time after lunch. So it's a real quick setup, real quick learning curve, and I was able to be productive in it, which is what I really like. There are some features I'm still working with, but you know, again, that learning curve was enough for me to be real productive. Another thing that's nice is I can use it without a model, and that helps as well, because sometimes we don't necessarily need a model. So going back to that project, based on the slide, is they submitted, based on the estimator model that we used, they submitted the funding for approval with the state. And as I said earlier, the next step would be to go back to some local funding and private equity. So there's still some work to be done. And now we're in the process of adding additional non-model scope items to the project. So this is actually, I have a meeting today to review some items that we missed, both myself and the developer, on the first go-round when we did the DProfiler model. Then I'm going to simply just take my computer with DESTINI Estimator open, and we're going to start adding line items. So that's a real nice feature to have. Another thing I wanted to touch on is, while in Estimator, one of the, I want to say, disadvantages, or one of the things that I almost wanted DProfiler to do a number of times, was to be able to copy line items. You know, you're within a system, and you're down in the assembly, and you drill down to the line item level, and you're like, man, I wish I could just copy this item real quick. DESTINI Estimator lets you do that, which is, I think, is very helpful here. So I can just go to copy line item and hit OK, and it copies it. So that's a real nice feature when you're trying to add line items on the fly. I can do the same thing that you do in DProfiler. I can change the description. That makes it really nice. And then that way I'm in the same code, I'm in the same CSI division, the same uniform classification, but I just copied that item. That's something that you can't necessarily do in DProfiler, but you can do it here. So that was a wonderful feature that I love. There are some other features that DESTINI Estimator is capable of that I haven't quite gotten a mastery of yet, so I didn't want to show those on this webinar, kind of flop on the face. But there's some other things you can do as far as estimate comparison and variance type reporting. So I know that's a feature that I will use in the future, because especially for this project, as you move forward, you will inevitably have to do variance reports based on that last budget that you did. It's going to come up, you know, why these prices are changing, even if they go down. So if they go up or go down, you still want to know, you know, exactly in that budget where it is. Estimator will allow you to do that type of variance reporting. So that's similar to what I've used in Timberline to run variance reports. So I believe that Estimator has the capability, you know, to be very comparable to some of the larger estimating systems, from what I've seen so far and what I've actually used. I will share with you guys that, like I said, MC Squared is our estimating platform. But I'll be honest, I haven't used MC Squared as much since getting Estimator, and I'm starting to use it a lot more frequently, to where it's almost my go-to application for doing estimates, even if I don't have a model. And that's what that's another feature that I do like, is that I don't necessarily have to build a model for it. I can just quickly go in, start adding line items from my cost database. So as I said, you know, today I have a meeting with the client, and I'm sure we're gonna come out of there with some updates. And I plan on continually using Estimator for this project and for other projects too, as the project moves forward. I will try to master the feature of the variance and comparisons. I believe that's something that has just come out. This project was done late last year, end of November and December. So I believe there's an update to allow you to do some estimate comparison that has just come out. So plan on learning to use that feature and to use it as this project goes through, even through bidding. And one of those reasons I'm actually looking forward to that is I have some bid package WBS set up on my line items, so I can even break it down by bid package. If I wanted to see that, I could do that here. And now I have bid package breakouts. So you could theoretically take Estimator from very conceptual, right after DProfiler model, or even without a DProfiler model. If you just want to plug in like you would do an Excel conceptual spreadsheet, you can start there. And you can move all the way through 100% construction, even through construction buyout, because it gives you the ability, if you have it in your cost database, or if not, you could add it through your WBS features here. So I have some WBS properties, and I could quickly add one. So if I didn't have bid package, I could go here and I could add a bid package. And what that would do, I'll just demonstrate it here. So now if I go to my column chooser, the WBS should be available to me. Maybe it's in my configure tree. Yeah, so it's in my configure tree. So like I said, I'm still learning, but I do know enough to be dangerous. But here's that new WBS that I just created. So I could add that to my estimate as well and sort that way. So that'd be one way to add bid packages if you don't have them in your cost database, or if there's not a place coded in your line items for it. So that's one way of using Estimator, like I said, as you get further down, even when you're bidding out the work. And I know in this particular electrical bid package, I'm carrying close to $3 million for that package. That's another nice thing. I can look at it, and I know the price of that package. So you could go further. There's a dashboard that I'd love to show you guys, but again, I'm not that familiar with it. That is basically an Excel sheet, which would allow you to kind of arrange these things in a better reporting format that you could use for a number of things, for bidding, for deliverables, RFPs, or any number of things. So I know I was a little brief this time. I didn't want to waste anybody's time, since I kind of wasted a little bit on the last go around on Wednesday. But that's pretty much my demonstration, or my case study for DESTINI Estimator. I took it from a DProfiler model up through some conceptual iterations, and I plan on using it in the future. So I appreciate it, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them.
So Corey, you said there is a short learning curve for DESTINI Estimator. Can you specifically talk to how long it took you to get up and running on the program?
Sure. So I said I installed Estimator, had one of the developers come over, since our offices are closed. He came over in the morning around 10 o'clock, and we sat down, and he gave me a quick demo, and then he ran me through some things, some kind of quick start type items as far as exporting from DProfiler, adding items, using this configuring this filter tree, and how to add items, remove items, and copy items. So that took about an hour and a half, I would say, and then we broke for lunch. I came back, had a meeting, and actually got to it at 2 o'clock on that same day. And I already had a DProfiler model, so I just went through the steps, and it took me, I would say, maybe two hours or so. I mean, it seems really fast, but this is a lot faster, because if you look at it, you see it. It's an Excel type setup. I mean, you're dealing with columns and rows and cells. So I mean, you already know how to use this type of system, and it's just a matter of remembering and learning how, I want to create line items, I want to move line items, and how do I change certain things. So yeah, I would say a couple of hours to really get going. Like I said, to where I was pretty productive, and I was able to sort and format it the way I needed. So it didn't take long at all. No modeling required.
All right, and then is Estimator difficult to use if someone does not know how to use DProfiler already?
No, I would say no, because you can use it without having to use DProfiler. So if I were to, I think I'm currently connected to a new my cost database. So if I just were to go to new, I would get this same formatting here of just a blank screen, similar to you'd get with Excel. So no, it's not. If you don't know DProfiler, you could definitely use Estimator.
And then did the project owner on this particular one know you were utilizing DProfiler or Estimator, and did it affect their processes?
They didn't know until we had our first deliverable, and then when they saw the model, I showed them the model, and we kind of looked at the model and then went into, here's my model here. Hopefully you can see that.
Yes.
So I just went through and modeled the property, had an estimate from there. We had this picture as a deliverable. So again, yeah, they didn't know until we showed it to them. They were impressed, obviously. And then it was kind of, I'd say, bittersweet, because once they learned how easy it was for me to go and make changes, it was like the floodgates opened, and we started looking at a lot of different options. So it added some time, on my end to indulge the owner to do these type of options, look at these things. But I think they enjoyed the flexibility of we would just sit in the office. I would sit in their office for an afternoon, and we would just go through, and they would basically be playing around with their project to see the different type of options or some of the things that they could do. So I would say that they enjoyed it. I would just say be careful and not pull back the curtain too much, because every day there'd be a change. So.
And did it make your process more efficient, or did it kind of stay the same? What would you say?
I would say initially it stayed the same, just because the process of putting it in DProfiler and then moving it into Estimator, that would be similar to if you had it in DProfiler and put it in Excel or a different software. Actually, I want to take that back a little bit. It made it a little more efficient on that end, because I didn't have to reformat anything. Everything from DProfiler automatically came over. I do see the value in the long run, because now I have this base estimate, and then any changes that I do, I can save as a different version, and now I can start pulling up those variances, and that's very powerful. Especially if you're looking at 2 months of pre-con or 8 months of pre-con, you're going to do multiple estimate iterations, and to be able to compare back between the two is very helpful. So it was a little more efficient. I would say maybe 10-15% initially, but as we go through, I can definitely see my efficiency growing, because I'm able to compare these estimates. They're not in Excel. If you have 2 estimates in Excel, you can compare them, but there's a little bit of formatting and programming to do with some macros. Here in Estimator, it's a lot easier to do. Like I said, it's similar to something a lot more robust, or a larger platform, that's for major enterprises. So I think it'll make it better in the long run.
And then are there any other estimators utilizing the reports you generated?
Not at this time. I actually have control over the reports in our Dallas regional office. I am trying to integrate them with our Atlanta corporate office. So there's some progress there, but it's a slow moving thing. But I actually control these reports, so I can format them and then make them a standard. So.
Thank you to Corey for representing this and showing us his use of DESTINI Estimator.
All right, thank you.